Number 5 question is, who are you? Is that an important question? Or would you say, who am I? Not who you are, who am I? And if I tell you who I am, what does it matter? It shall be out of curiosity, won't it? It's like reading a menu at the window. You have to go into the restaurant and eat food. But merely standing outside and reading the menu won't satisfy your hunger. So, to tell you who I am is really quite meaningless. First of all, I'm nobody. Right? That's all. It's very simple as that. I'm nobody. But what is important is who you are. What am I? What are you? When they ask who you are, in that question is implied, you are somebody very great, therefore I'm going to imitate you. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you brush your teeth or whatever it is. I'm going to imitate you, which is part of our pattern, you understand? There is the hero, or the man who is enlightened, or the guru, say, I'm going to copy everything you do, which becomes so absurdly silly, you understand? Childish to imitate somebody. And are we not the result of a lot of imitations? Right? The religions have said, they don't use the word imitate, but give yourself over, surrender yourself, follow me, I am this, I am that, worship, right? All this is what you are. In school you imitate. Please. Acquiring knowledge is a form of imitation. And of course there is the fashion, short dress, long hair, short hair, beard, no beard. Imitate, imitate, imitate. And also we imitate inwardly. So we all know that. But to find out who you are, not who the speaker is far more important. And to find out who you are, you have to inquire. You are the story of mankind, which is really a very, if you really see that, it gives you tremendous vitality, energy, beauty, love. Because it is no longer a small entity struggling in the corner of the earth. You're part of this whole humanity. It has a tremendous responsibility, vitality, beauty, love. But most of us won't see this. But whereas we are most of us concerned with ourselves, with our particular little problem, particular little sorrow, and so on. And to step out of that narrow circle seems almost impossible. Because we are so conditioned, so programmed like the computers, that we cannot learn something new. The computer can, but we can't. See the tragedy of it. The machine that we have created, the computer, can learn much faster, infinitely more than I can, than the brain can. And the brain, which has invented that has become ultra-intelligent machine, right? Whereas our brain is sluggish, slow, dull, because we have conformed, we have obeyed, we have followed. There is the guru, there is the priest, there is the rich. You follow? And when you do revolt, as the revolutionaries and the terrorists do, it is still very superficial. Changing the pattern of politics, of so-called society. Society is merely the relationship between people. And we are talking of a revolution, not physical, but the psychological revolution in which there is no, at the depth, conformity. We put on trousers because you're in this country, and you put on in India's different clothes. That's not conformity. That's nothing childish. But inwardly, not a feeling of conformity. Conformity exists when there is comparison. For a mind to be totally free from comparison, that is, to learn, to observe the whole history which is embedded in you. May we continue where we left off yesterday. We were talking about fear and the ending of fear. And also, we were talking about the responsibility of each one of us facing what is happening in the world, the appalling, frightening mess we are in. And for that, we're all responsible, individually, collectively, nationally, religiously, and all the affairs of the world we have made after millennia upon millennia, long evolution. We have still remained barbarians, hurting each other, killing each other, destroying each other. We've had freedom to do exactly what one liked. And that has created havoc in the world. Freedom is not to do what one likes, but rather to be free from all the travail of life, from the problems which we went into yesterday morning, from our anxieties, from our psychological wounds, from all the conflict that we have put up with for many, many, many millennia. And also to be free from fear. We talked about all these things yesterday afternoon. And also we said these gatherings, this meeting, is not a lecture on any particular subject, to inform, to instruct, to put it into a certain pattern. But rather, it is our responsibility together to investigate, to explore into all the problems of our life, our daily life. Not some speculative concepts or philosophies, but to understand the daily pain, the boredom, the loneliness, the despair, the depression, and the endless conflict which man has lived with. And this morning, we have to cover a great deal of ground. And also we pointed out yesterday, this is not a meeting in which the speaker stimulates you intellectually, emotionally, or in any other way. We depend a great deal on stimulation. It's a form of commercialism. Drugs, alcohol, and all the various means of sensation. And we want also not only sensation, but excitement, stimulation. So this is not that kind of meeting. We are together to investigate our life, our daily life. That is to understand oneself, what one is actually. Not theoretically, not according to some philosopher or some psychiatrist and so on. If you can put aside all that and look at ourselves, actually what we are, and not get depressed or elated, but to observe, which is to understand the whole psychological structure of our being, of our existence. And we talked about it yesterday as one of the things that human beings go through all their life is a form of fear. And we went to it very carefully. That time, thought are the root of fear. We went into that, what time and thought is. Time is not only the past, the present and the future, but in the now, in the present, all time is contained. Because what we are now, we will be tomorrow, unless there is a great fundamental mutation in the very psyche itself, in the very brain cells themselves. We talked about it. And we also should talk over this morning together. Please, if one may point out, you and the speaker are taking a journey together. A long, complicated journey. And to take that journey, one mustn't be attached to any particular form of belief. Then that journey is not possible. Or to any faith, or to some conclusion or ideology or concept. It's like climbing the Everest or some of the great, marvelous mountains of the world. One has to leave a great deal behind. Not carry all your burdens of the steep hills, mountains. So in taking the journey together, and the speaker means together, not that he's merely talking and you agreeing or disagreeing. If we could put those two words aside completely, then we can take the journey together. Some may want to walk very rapidly, or the others may lag behind. But your journey, all the same, together. We ought also to talk over together why human beings have always pursued pleasure as opposed to fear. We've never investigated what is pleasure, why we want everlasting pleasure in different ways: sexual, sensory, intellectual, the pleasure of possessions, the pleasure of acquiring a great skill, the pleasure that one derives from having a great deal of information, knowledge. And the ultimate gratification is what we call God. As we said, please don't get angry or irritated or want to throw something at the speaker. This is a violent world. If you don't agree, they kill you. This is what's happening. And here, we're not trying to kill each other. We're not doing any kind of propaganda or convince you of anything. But we're going to face the truth of things, not live in delusions. And without delusions, it's very difficult to observe. If you are deluding yourself or not facing actualities, then it becomes impossible to look at oneself as one is. But we like delusions, illusions, every form of deception. because we are frightened to look at ourselves. As we said, to look at ourselves very clearly, accurately, precisely, it's only possible in a mirror of relationship. That's the only mirror that we have. When you look at yourself, when you're combing your hair, or shaving, or doing whatever you're doing to your face. Sorry. You look at your mirror. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm glad you approve. When you are shaving, you look at your face or comb your hair. That mirror reflects exactly what you are, your face is, how you look. And psychologically, is there such a mirror in which you can see exactly, precisely, accurate what you are? As we said, there is such a mirror, which is one's relationship, however intimate it be, whether it's man, woman. In that relationship, you see what you are, if you allow yourself to see what you are. You see how you get angry, your possession, your all the rest of it. So pleasure, man has pursued endlessly in the name of God, in the name of peace, and in the name of ideology, and the pleasure of power, having power over others, political power. Have you noticed? Power is an ugly thing when one dominates another in any form. When the wife dominates the husband or the husband dominates the woman. Power is one of the evil things in life. And pleasure is the other side of the coin of fear. When one understands deeply, profoundly, seriously the nature of fear, as we went into it yesterday and we won't go into it again, then pleasure, that is delight, seeing something beautiful, seeing the sunset or the morning light, the dawn, the marvelous colors, the reflection of the sun on the waters. That's a delight. But we make that as a memory and cultivate that memory as pleasure. And also, as we said, must just look at it, not do something about it. I don't know if you've gone into the question of action. What is action? We're all so active, from morning till night. Not only physically, but psychologically. The brain everlastingly chattering, going from one thing to another, endlessly. During the day and during the night, the dreams. The brain is never at rest. It's perpetually in motion. I do not know if you've gone into that question of action. What is action? The doing. Is it? The very word, doing, is the present. It's not having done or will do. Action means the doing now. Correctly, accurately, completely, holistically. If I can use that word. Action that is whole, complete, not partial. When action is based on some ideology, it's not action, is it? It's a conformity to a certain pattern which we have established. And therefore it's incomplete action. Or according to some memory, some conclusion. If you act according to certain ideology, pattern, or conclusion, it is still incomplete. There is a contradiction always. So one has to inquire into this very complex problem of action. Is action related to disorder or to order? You understand? We live in disorder. Our life is disorderly, confused, contradictory. Saying one thing, doing another. Thinking one thing, and quite the opposite in our action.